Should you go to prison for not wearing a mask? Who's a bigger threat to Britain, Vladimir Putin or Nicola Sturgeon? And have Harry and Meghan gone too far this time? Please don't cancel me. This is free speech. Should you go to prison for not wearing a mask? Sounds crazy, but that's exactly what's happening in the Republic of Ireland. Britain itself is in a state of mask-ageddon. It's an inconvenient truth, but 4 decades of research into masks suggests they're about as effective as getting Theresa May to negotiate Brexit. Even Jenny, trust me, I'm a doctor, Harry's, a government advisor, said they were rubbish in March. Now she's saying they're great. It's hard to believe a word this woman says. What is she, the Prime Minister? If masks are such a good idea, why are we introducing them now as COVID cases plummet? A lot of things were a good idea 4 months ago. Hugging people, getting dressed for work, and booking a holiday to the Costa del Sol, to name but 3. Adopting masks now is a bit like Boris Johnson having a rethink about his family planning strategy. Police forces across the land have said that they won't enforce the mask ruling. And frankly, who could blame them when there are burglaries happening, muggings, antisocial behaviour, knife crime, drugs offences, and terrorism. Remember terrorism? Turns out they're quite busy at the moment. So forgive them for not making sure you're going into your local convenience store dressed like a Chernobyl road sweeper. So who does it fall to police this ridiculous law? I'll tell you, the true heroes of this pandemic. Supermarket workers. That's right. It literally falls to Dawn behind the meat counter at Tesco to sort this one out. Notwithstanding her main task, which is to sell as many ribeye steaks and sides of ham as she can, she's now got to turn into DCI Gene Hunt and start arresting people. Here's the key point. Whether you're a mask skeptic or a masketeer, there is a thing called discretionary spending. Unlike buying milk, eggs or a loaf of bread, discretionary spending is, to use a technical macroeconomic term, the stuff you don't need. And our economy is based on the stuff you don't need. So what hope is there for this discretionary spending if every time you want to go to Zara, John Lewis or TK Maxx, you've got to dress up to the point where even your closest family members won't recognise you? Here's an idea. Why don't we keep our hands clean, keep a bit apart and shield the vulnerable, like we have been for the last 4 months, and get back to normal life now? Because frankly, if this discretionary spending is so important, I suggest these god-awful masks are discretionary too. Who is a greater threat to the United Kingdom? Vladimir Putin or Nicola Sturgeon? Because whilst Nicola Sturgeon is less proficient at riding a horse topless, they both share a common goal: the breakup of the United Kingdom. In many ways, you just have to look at whatever Vladimir Putin wants to happen, and you can guarantee it's bad for our country. Look at what he wants. He wants to stoke the fires of civil war in Syria. He wants a migrant crisis in Europe. He wants to start a satellite war in space, and he wants an independent Scotland. It doesn't stop there in this man's reign of tyranny. The all-female reboot of Ghostbusters? That was his idea too. Shameful. Vladimir Putin wants an independent Scotland so much, we're calling him Vladimir McPutin. We may send him a sporran and a Happy Meal. Vladimir McPutin wants an independent Scotland because it will weaken us. It will weaken Scotland, yes it will, but it would also weaken England, Northern Ireland and Wales. There are no winners. And just think about this for a second. I don't want to unsettle you, but if there was a messy divorce between Scotland and the rest of the UK, it could mean England, Northern Ireland and Wales not having access to that rich natural resource worth billions that's been fought over for decades. Tunnocks, tea cakes. So I say to Vladimir McPutin, bagpipe down, whiskey yourself away from our affairs and stick your evil meddling up your kilt. There's trouble in paradise, folks. Following the sensational release of a book they didn't contribute to, but wrote entirely themselves, it turns out Harry and Meghan feel very badly treated by everyone. The royal family, the press, and you, the British people. How could you be so heartless? Here's the thing. No one ever really reflects on what they are going through. And it's all of your fault. Because you're so caught up, aren't you, in your little bubble. about whether you're going to keep your job, how you're going to find money to pay the mortgage or rent, filling in the gaps of your child's interrupted education, shielding your elderly relatives from COVID-19, and processing the fact that inflation and unemployment are coming and that decades of national debt lie ahead, which your great-grandchildren will have to pay for. Well, frankly, these are all minor trifles. Get over yourself. You try living off 30 million quid, enjoying 24/7 security paid for by the British state, and rattling around an enormous Hollywood mansion that's got more toilets than bedrooms. What this calls for is the return of Bob Geldof. That's right, and a huge concert at Wembley Stadium. Harry and Meghan to not only raise more millions for this poor couple, but to say to them, we feel your pain. And I think a charity record would be good too. We could call it, Do Harry and Meghan Know It's Christmas? And in December, frankly, the royal couple probably won't know it's Christmas because LA is very warm and sunny at that time of year. And that's all we've got time for on this edition of Free Speech. I'd better get out of here before they cancel me. Where's my mask? Goodbye.